that informs the conversations. So that engagement was done on your behalf. In the area of legislation, we've already talked about that. Sometimes FKE takes part in what I call public interest litigation. You, as members, may not actually get to know, but in some instances, we actually defend this country. For instance, there was a case where a matter was filed by employees in the tea sector claiming that they had sustained injuries at work and they did not believe that the Kenyan courts would be fair or could handle these cases. So they filed a case in Ireland, and there were rulings from those foreign courts imposing directives on our courts here to comply with. And we did file a case saying that challenging the constitutionality of these decisions of foreign courts in a case that was filed by the employees, and the court ruled in our favor, pointing out that there were significant challenges and gaps in the implementation of the Work Injury Benefits Act, but held that our courts here had the capacity, the jurisdiction to deal with these matters and not foreign courts, and that Kenya was not under any duty to enforce decisions by foreign courts. We did go to court on the housing bill. We went to court on NHIF, on NSSF through some members. So litigation is a heavy part of the work that we do on your behalf, and we were able to win some successes. I shared with you the trainings that we did and the organization development work that we do. And I want to thank the members, especially Coca-Cola, Purchase Insurance, AA, Automobile Association of Kenya, and Royal Flora for supporting us in the area of organization development work. Again, the president talked about the Employee of the Year Awards, which we conducted, and I want to add my voice to thank you, the members who took part, first of all, in this award, because if you don't take part, then there is nothing to assess. So you took part and you responded online and opened your enterprises to scrutiny for us to verify what you had said using the consultants that we had hired. We also had the Female Future graduation as we celebrated 10 years of this wonderful program, and also annual general meetings at regional level. We have 3 regional offices and also this national. Thank you once again, members, for being present in these events that we carry out really on your behalf. I want to encourage the ladies in the room to kindly enroll into the Female Future Leadership Program. This is a great program that will contribute to your advancement in your career, whether you're, well, everybody here, you could be self-employed, running your own enterprise, or in employment. We have seen success stories from those who've gone through this program. And we are in the process of recruiting, actually, for the next cohort. I want to appreciate the increase in the participation rates into this program and the support from you members. In the area of representation, which takes about 40% of our time, we are representing you in very many different forums, other than the ones I've talked about already. We take part within the education sector, CASNEB, Commission for University Education, many others. Even the Kenya National Qualification Authority, that's the latest one, the National Employment Authority, and the latest one is the Affordable Housing Board, where we represent you and we'll be able to voice any issues that arise. If you recall, members, we did launch eWajiri portal. This is our contribution towards making it easier for you to access FKE services. We want to serve you digitally. But for us to do that, we need you to register into this portal. We have, since launching it about 2 years ago, improved it, and we will be relaunching it today. And my appeal to you is kindly log into this and give us details of who we can contact in your organization. You can make appointments through this program. You can request for services through this portal. So please log into the eWajiri portal after we present it later. We carry out research as well. We did carry out last year many researches, particularly looking into trends in employment. We're looking at areas of skills. We're looking at social protection and many other areas. We also carried out a skills needs survey to inform, especially in the area of TVET, what are the level of skills that are needed? Where are the gaps? This skills mismatch that we talk about, is it a reality? And through this, we have programs and projects aimed at organization development, vocational training, equality, sexual and reproductive health rights, and gender equality in the workplace, capacity building of you members, promotion of wellness at the workplace. This is a big issue now, as we all know, mental health issues, and just general employee wellness. And finally, we have what we call Adopt a School program, which is a give back to society, and we support various schools. So far, we've supported 16 schools, the last rooms and sanitary facilities, so that this school, which did not have junior secondary, can now have junior secondary. As I conclude, I just want to make an appeal to you members and to plead with you to continue utilizing the FKE services, especially in training. We are struggling to raise the number sometimes, but we know that you train. So you tell us how we can improve in that area. But we frequently review our training programs. We have case studies. We call judges of the Employment and Labor Relations Code practitioners, so that you can hear, as they say, live, the current trends and expose you to best practices. We are planning on having an employers conference this year, if all goes well, and we'll be coming back to you to support and to attend this program. If you saw in the news recently, about 2 weeks ago, I believe, we launched the International Postgraduate Certificate in Industrial Relations. How many of you saw this news? Board members are aware of it. We launched this unique training program with the ILO training school, if I may call it that way, based in Turin, the ITC ILO. It will be an internationally recognized certification, which you can then build on in industrial relations. And anybody who is managing people, which you all are in this room, needs this program. We are currently recruiting, and we plan to start the class in July. And this is a unique program because it will be online and also physical. The training will happen here and partially in Turin. So you'll get to be exposed and to interact with people from other parts of the world and to know the latest trends in industrial relations. So we signed a memorandum of understanding with the ITC ILO to deliver this program. So my final appeal is for you to give us feedback on how we can improve our services. If you see us doing something which you think we need to improve on, please let us know. But if you see us doing something good, also tell us so that we can be encouraged. I want to conclude by expressing my sincere appreciation to all of you for your support, your loyalty, commitment, and trust in the Federation of Kenya Employers, because as you know, you are the reason why we exist, and you are the reason why we strive every day to be excellent in the work that we do. We are grateful finally to our AGM partner, the RBA. They were our partner last year, they are our partner this year. We appreciate their generous support and collaboration. Finally, we appreciate the members who made the publishing of this annual report possible, and I'll mention them by name. I want to thank the company headed by our chief guest, Jubilee Insurance, Isuzu East Africa, Kenya National Qualification Authority, the National Social Security Fund, RBA, Kabarak University, KASNEB, Crown Paints, LVCT Health, CPF Financial Services, Prudential, Bomu Hospital. Asanteni sana. Finally, the staff of the Federation of Kenya Employers, if you could kindly stand. I want to thank you all for your dedication. Some of them were actually, let me just tell you what happens in FKA. We hoped to have this room by around 10, 11 p.m. last night. It was not availed to us until the wee hours of the morning, around 4, 5. So these people are up the whole night getting this room to look the way it does. Doesn't it look wonderful? They're sleepwalking. Other than that, we've done a lot of work getting the documentation ready, and I want to appreciate you. They're just a representation of the 55 people that we are. Without them, I would not be able to work, and the Federation would not achieve. Thank you very much, staff of the Federation. Asanteni sana.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the executive director deserves a clap for that very well presented summary of our 2023 performance as captured in our annual report for the same year. Now, at this point, I think let me invite any comments or any questions, suggestions, views on the presentation of of as presented in the annual report. Usually, if there are no, if I see no movement, it means that there's no question, and therefore, I would want to request for a proposer and a seconder for the motion to adopt the 2023 annual report. Yes, a microphone.
Thank you, sir. My name is Lydia Hoketo from Ramogi TV. I heard Dr. Habilo Laka talks about in the recent past, they have tried to engage the government over the increasing taxes. So there's a likelihood that the taxes will continue increasing should the Finance Bill 2024 be passed by the parliamentarians. My question is, have you tried to engage the parliamentarians, given that they are the ones that are going to pass this bill in the parliament? Have you tried to make an effort to talk to them? And if so, what is their take on this? Thank you.
Um, I think for purposes of efficiency, we have had, there was a chairman's report, there is an annual report, and then there'll be the presentation from the chief guests. And what I propose is that let's have the questions that will come from the three reports discussed during the open session that we'll have thereafter. So we can keep that in abeyance. It will be answered at the time when we have got the open discussion so that we can be more efficient in terms of time management. Is that okay? Okay. So there's a lady there who had actually risen up to propose, and I'll request that microphone be extended to her.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Jacqueline, for a very wonderful report, and thank you for the good job you guys are doing. I'll be delighted to propose the adoption of this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Ritu Bahal. I'm the CEO of Rongai Workshop and Transport Limited. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. And now we can have a seconder.
My name is Professor Ronald Kilot from Kabarak University. I wish to second the annual report presented by the Executive Director. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now with the proposer and seconder of the motion passed, the, the position is that the annual report has therefore been adopted by the membership. And we now proceed to the next item on the agenda, which is the report on the financial statements from the auditors for the year ended 31st December 2023. And as you are aware, our external auditors are Mazars, and I'll therefore take this opportunity to invite them to present to us their report on the audit of the financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2023.
Good morning, FK members. Trust you're all well and are ready to receive the report, the financial report together with the auditor's report. My name is CP Evanson Nganga. I'm partner with Mazars. We are honored to be here as the auditors of this esteemed association. I'll be looking from page 42. That's where you'll find the auditor's report on this booklet that has been shared. 42, 43, 44, 45, and 46. To start us off, I'll just want to do a quick highlight on the financial statements, on the two extracts that have been presented to you on page 45 and 46. On page 45, you have the statement of revenue and expenditure and other comprehensive income for the year then ended 31 December 2023. And on page 46, you have the statement of financial position as at 31 December 2023. I will submit that much of what I'm going to say will be repetition of what the national president has already alluded to, together with the report by the executive director. And so I'll be saving us some narrations, but just be highlighting what has been mentioned earlier. I'll start with the statement of revenue and expenditure and other comprehensive income. The revenue of FKE, there was a slight drop from 194 million compared to from 194 million in 2022 to 177 million in 2023. And this is largely because of the management training and consulting services. There was a drop in that area, and this was mentioned by the ED, where she mentioned that out of the 250 that had been scheduled, around 54 are the ones that were actually done, and members, you are encouraged to participate in that area. Other income, 24 million reported in 2023, approximately 13.8 in 2022. The growth in that area is out of the new program that have been enrolled by the FKE, and specifically a key highlight is on the Female Future program that performed quite well in that year. Direct expenses, a total of 215 million in 2023 compared with 203 in 2022. Again, you'll expect that in view of the drop in income, that there will be a drop in direct expenses. Unfortunately, that was not the case. As was highlighted in the national president's report, he did indicate that one of the things that organization did struggle with was the incremental costs, and FKE was not spared also. So at the end of the year, compared to the previous 2022 surplus position of 4.8 million, FKE closed with an operating loss of 13.3 million. The next line is on depreciation and amortization. We have assets as FKE, assets including the investment property and also the property and equipment. That is what is covered under depreciation and amortization. And this is expected to be the same or slightly 21 million in 2023, 21 million in 2022. So the deficit that takes into account the operating loss and the effect of depreciation and amortization brings us to a total deficit or a total loss of 34.5 million in 2023 compared to 16.5 million loss in 2022. We have a tax credit of around 2.6 million that is indicated in note in the below line compared to a tax deduction in a tax charge in 2022. And this tax credit is largely because of what we call deferred tax computation, and that will bring us to a net deficit for the year 31.8 million compared to a deficit of 19.4 million in 2022. Having done that, I request us to look at page 46 of our booklet that will now detail the statement of financial position as at 31 December 2023. It details what assets the FKE has. It also details the reserves and liabilities. And the assets of FKE include what is non-current, that is more than 12 months, and what is current, that is within 12 months. What is non-current includes the investment property that you're soon going to be developing, and the other property and equipments that the FKE has. The investment property for 2023 was 216 million approximately, and the PPE, the property and equipment, was 21.8 million to close at 237.9 million approximately compared to 258 in 2022. The movement there is largely out of, or singularly out of depreciation and amortization, not necessarily disposal. Under current assets, you have trade and other receivables. You also have current tax receivable and cash equivalent. Comparably, 2023 was far much better to 2022 in terms of trade and other receivables, closing at 11.2 million compared to 24.7 million. So there was a significant collection of receivables, and you'll be seeing the impact as you look at the cash and cash equivalent, because you'll also be seeing that there is a growth in the cash and cash equivalent following the collection of the receivables. Current tax receivable, 15.9 million compared to 12.5 million. This usually happens when you estimate to make profits during the year and something happens in between and you don't get to attain the profits that you had purposed to achieve. So it means that you might have overpaid your installment taxes, and also there are also aspects of withholding taxes whenever you are dealing with suppliers. As indicated, the cash and cash equivalent looks good for FKE, 542.9 million compared to 512.4 million, a significant growth, as you can note, of approximately 30 million. So in terms of the liquidity of FKE, appears quite good. And in that liquidity, there's also the money that is also attributable to the development levy, and you'll be seeing it as we go now to the liabilities, because there's a contra to represent what is the liability. So the total current assets, 570 compared to 550 million in 2022. The total asset position is 808.1 million Kenya shillings compared to 810.4 million Kenya shillings. And the dip is not under the current assets, but largely in the non-current assets reflected by depreciation and amortization. To the reserves of FKE, and these include the other reserves, revaluation reserves and revenue reserves. Other reserves remain consistent, the same, no changes. Revaluation reserves, they will drop because as you're amortizing the properties that have already been revalued, you'll also be amortizing the revaluation reserves or derecognizing the revaluation reserves. So you'll realize that the revaluation reserve, there was a drop from 166 million to around 149 million Kenya shillings. The impact of the deficit in the year or in the years is usually recognized under revenue reserves. That is why you'll see, because of the current year deficit, the revenue reserve moved from 127 million to 112 million to recognize that deficit. So the total reserves stand at 263.4 million compared to 295.2 million in 2022. Liabilities, again, liabilities will be split between two: non-current over 12 months and current within 12 months. And the first item is on the deferred tax. This is usually an accounting computation to try and check on what will be the impact of some aspects which are not accounted for under the normal tax regime. Drop to 73 million compared to 80 million in 2022. Our current receivables, current liabilities, FKE current liabilities split between accounts payable and development levy. Accounts payable, 54 million in 2023 compared to 49 million in 2022. And the accounts payable have increased largely due to some unutilized donor funds that were inexistent at year end. So those are accounted for there. That will explain the significant portion of that growth is due to unutilized donor funds of ongoing projects. And then there's a development levy that members have been contributing towards the beautiful building that is going to be born soon or constructed soon. 2023, 417.5 million compared to 385.3 million. And the growth, as was indicated, I believe, by the executive director, is because these funds first are invested in an interest earning account. So there's the interest element, and also the members who are also paying their dues that are not paid then, and also from new members. That explains the growth. So the total liabilities in terms of current liabilities, 471 million compared to 435 million. Total liabilities, 544 million approximately, compared to 515 in 2022. And the total reserves and liabilities, which will be an equal amount to what is indicated as total assets, 808.1 million Kenya shillings compared to 810.4 million shillings in 2022. So that's just a brief highlight of the financial statements that have been presented before you, members. I'll now wish to address myself to my key mandate as the auditor of FKE, and this lies on page 42, 43, and 44. And again, I'll be highlighting, I'll not be reading through and through, but the important highlight is on the first paragraph to confirm that yes, as Mazars, we have audited these financial statements of FKE, and this comprises of the statement of financial position as at 31 December 2023, together the statement of revenue and expenditure, statement of changes in equity, cash flows, the notes, and a summary of the significant accounting policies that were used to prepare and present these financial statements. Having that done that audit, we confirm that in our opinion that these financial statements do give a true and fair view of the financial position of FKE as at 31 December 2023 and of its financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards. The basis of our opinion, first, is we must always ensure that we are in compliance with our code of ethics that will allow us to remain objective and independent throughout the audit. And secondly, is to ensure that we do obtain the sufficient and appropriate audit evidence that is necessary to arrive at our audit opinion. And I can confirm that both we have complied it, we have remained independent and objective throughout the audit, and we did obtain the relevant, sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to enable us form our opinion. The third heading is on other information. Other information touches on what is contained in this booklet. Our responsibilities as auditors is to ensure that this other information that includes the chairman's or the national president's report, the executive director's report, is in no way contradicting or materially contradicting or misstating the financial statements that have just taken us through. And having done our review, if we noticed something that was amiss, we should have noted it in our report. But we did review this report and we did not notice anything which was amiss, and we have nothing to report in that regard. On the fourth heading, on the management board responsibility to these financial statements, is a highlight and a remembrance of the board's responsibility, that it is the responsibility of the board to ensure that these financial statements are prepared in a fair manner and that they do give a true and fair view of the of FKE in accordance with the financial reporting standards. It is also their responsibility, or the management board responsibility, to ensure that the assets of the FKE are properly secured and that these financial statements are also prepared in accordance with going concern, unless the management board believes otherwise and prepares them as a non-going concern. But in this case, they have been prepared in a going concern, which I'll be highlighting that we reviewed as part of our responsibilities to confirm our concurrence on that. And that is on the fifth heading, which is on the extreme of your right on page 43. Our responsibilities as auditors for these financial statements. Ours is to ensure that we have obtained reasonable assurance whether these financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatements, whether due to error or fraud. And in doing our work, we are guided by the international standards on auditing, and we also do exercise professional judgment and ensure we maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. As part of our audit procedures, we first ensure that we assess the risk of material misstatement so that as we engage in this assignment, we are certain that we are actually understanding what you're auditing and we have identified the high risk areas so that we can be able to focus on that. And once we identify the high risk areas which would in any way result in financial statements which are not in compliance, my statement continues on page 44. We then go and check on the internal control environment, that is on page 44, that is where I am, to do procedures to ensure that the controls that are in place actually are able to mitigate the risks that we have identified. In the absence of control will actually actualize. And once we understand that, and we, as part of audit procedures, we also evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies. We now go forward and check on the accounting policies, the revenue recognition, the cost recognition, the asset revaluation recognition, and all that. We look to ensure that the presentation of these financial statements is in accordance with IFRS. And importantly, we also check on the use of management board, use of going concern. We check to test whether it is viable for FKE, in this case, to continue as a going concern. testing the assumptions, testing the projections to see actually whether the going concern is there. And seeing you members here is also a comfort that our work on going concern was appropriate, because we concluded that it was appropriate, and we believe that FKE is on a good standing. Having done those rigorous tests, definitely there'll be some things that will be needing improvement. And these ones we do a separate letter to the management board to tell them how they can improve on some areas that will need improvement, so that this association can continue being growing stronger and better in the times and in the future going forward. This audit report was signed by myself, CPA Ivan Songanga. My practicing certificate number as issued by the Institute of Certified Public Accountants is number 2146 and dated 20th of May 2024. Thank you very much, National President and members, for the opportunity to present our audit report to you.
Thank you very much. That is the external auditor's report on the audited financial statements for FKE for the year ended 31st December 2023. And I think he has discharged his duty and came out with an opinion that is unqualified. And I think it's important for us to note that it's unqualified. At this juncture, let me request if there are any comments on the report that has just been presented to us. Any comments? I saw that and I thought it was a camera, actually, not a hand. Any comments? If none, then may I request for a propose and a seconder for us to adopt the audited financial statements for FKE for the year ended 31st December 2023. A proposer? Yes, there is a gentleman at the back there.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Edwin Owiti from Agrochemical and Food Company. I propose the audited accounts. Thank you.
Thank you. And could we please have a seconder? Yes, there is a lady at the far left.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Priska Care for Sasini PLC. I second.
Yeah, thank you very much. So with that proposal and secondment, we therefore adopt the report from the external auditor. And now we move to the next item. And for good reasons, I'll request the external auditors to leave the room so that we can, in peace, address the next item. So we asked the external auditor to leave because this is the item for the appointment of external auditors. And generally at the annual general meeting, upon the recommendation of the management board, is required to consider and approve the appointment of the external auditors for a period of 3 years as per the policy. The 3-year period is meant to give auditors ample time to understand the business in order to provide quality work. However, the appointment is reviewed every year based on performance. The external auditor's work entails full review and audit of the Federation's financial statements and a review of the partner project accounts. During the year 2023, Mazars served as external auditor for the Federation, this being their first year in office. Continue being the Federation external auditors at the quoted amount of Kenya shillings 649,600 per annum, and the amount remains the same as they were in the year 2023, there being no change for the audit of the year 2024. Mazars is a mid-sized audit firm that is technically sound and will add value to the operations of the Federation. So our request to the AGM is to consider and approve the appointment of Mazars as external auditors for the Federation for the year 2024. So could I please have a proposer and a seconder for that resolution? Yes, there is a gentleman in the inner left row.
Thank you very much. My name is John Machari Warutumo from Nakuru, working with Cosmopolitan Circle. I'm the Honorary Secretary. I propose.
Thank you very much. And could we have a seconder, please? Yes, there is a lady at the far end. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Margaret Geno. I second from Kempoli Manufacturers.
Thank you very much. Maybe because there is an observation that given that the proposer and seconder are from the same company, we could possibly spread it out and have a seconder. May I propose a second seconder? Yes, there's a lady.
Good morning. My name is Anita Oliwa from Post Bank. I second.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so with those three proposals and two secondments, I think the motion carries the day. And so now we move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the election of board members. And for this, let me invite Mr. Apollo Kiarie, who has graciously accepted to be our returning officer, having been an old hand in this, having done this before for us. And we therefore have got confidence in his independence and astuteness to preside over the election of the board members and ratification of the election of trustees. Karibu Bwana Kiarie.
Just a few minutes to afternoon. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. President, for having confidence in me that I will not leak the elections. This is a Chebukati movement now that we want to go to elections and get the new leadership of this great institution. It's my honor and pleasure to undertake that activity. At this point, I want to declare the following offices vacant. The office of the National President, the office of the first National President, the office of the second National President. We'll undertake elections for those three positions, and thereafter we shall fill in three board positions that are vacant in that order. Following the Constitution of the Federation, and especially Article 14, 1A, and Article 16, 1A, we want to elect the national president of the federation. We've received proposals for consideration. Ours is a very transparent and open democracy, and names are forwarded to the secretariat with the proposers and seconders. So for the position of the national president, we have the name of Dr. Gilda Odera, who is the lead consultant at All About Marketing Limited. Gilda was proposed by one Michael Masharia from the Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers, and she was seconded by one Mr. Cosmas Mutava of the Private Securities Industry Association. We'll give room for the floor to propose a second name, if there is. And I want to invite a second name, if there is. Counting 1, 2, I don't see a hand, 3. And if there's no other name coming forth, I want to humbly declare Dr. Gilda Odera duly elected as the National President of the Federation of Kenya Employers 2024. Thank you so much. I want to go to the second position, which is the first National Vice President. And as per the Constitution, Article 14, 1B and Article 16, 1A, we have received the name of one Mr. Michael Macharia, who is the Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers. He was proposed by Dr. Lea Nganga from KAHC and seconded by Chris Musava of Manzoni Lodge. That is the position of first National Vice President. Michael Macharia has been proposed and seconded. Do we have another name coming forth from the floor of the room? I don't see a name coming forth. I don't see a hand shooting up. So it is my duty and pleasure to declare Mr. Michael Macharia the first National Vice President of the Federation of Kenya Employers. Moving on, we need to fill in the position of the second National Vice President. And that is under Article 16(1)(a). And we have received the name for consideration of Mr. Lawrence Okello. He's the Managing Director, G4S Kenya Limited. He was proposed by Dr. Ann Owol, Matengol and Associates. He was seconded by Mr. Azim Dosa MD is a coach. That name is already received. Do we have a second name coming in from the floor of the House? A second proposal? And if there isn't, I want to declare Mr. Lawrence Okello, MD, G4S Kenya Limited, as the second National Vice President of the Federation of Kenya Employers. And now we want to fill in the 3 vacant positions in the board under Article 14(1)(e) and 16(2) of the Constitution. And I have the following names that have been proposed for consideration. One is Dr. Anne Owol, EBS, Matengo and Associates. She was proposed by Mr. Michael Macharia, Kenya Association of Hotel Keepers and Caterers, and seconded by Mr. Lawrence Okello, G4S Kenya Limited. Madam Anne Owol is not in the room today. We were told earlier on that she's out of the country on duty. So she has been proposed and seconded to be a board member in the year 2024. Secondly, the other position or the other name that you have received is the name of Mr. Wesley Sierra. He is the Chief Executive Officer, Agricultural Employers Association. He was proposed by Mr. Stephen Strong, who is the MD, Farmers Choice Kenya Limited, and seconded by Mr. Gibson Cheriot of the Agricultural Employers Association. And third, we have received the name of Mr. Tom Gichuhi, the Executive Director and CEO, the Association of Kenya Insurers, proposed by Mr. Nixon Shigori of AKI, and seconded by Mr. Zachary Ochieng, also of AKI. So those 3 personalities have been onboarded into the FKE board beginning today, the 29th of May 2024. Let's give them a clap. Let's give those who have been elected a clap. Yeah, requested that for purposes of transparency, we need to see these new office bearers. National President, Gilda Odera, Daktari, stand so that people can appreciate you. Asante sana. First National Vice President, Michael Macharia. Second National Vice President, Lawrence Okello. I want to call in Mr. Wesley Sierra from AEA. Is Tom in the room? Tom Gichuhi? He is not in the room. And so is Anne, who we have already indicated that she's out on safari. So that is my humble duty that I have finished my job. Back to you, Mr. President. Oh, yes. If you look at the agenda paper, the next activity is the ratification of elections of the trustees. That is agenda number 10 or 8. Yeah. Under section 36 of the Act, the management board may elect not less than 3 and not more than 5 persons who are members of the federation to be trustees of the federation on such terms and conditions of service as the board may deem appropriate. Appointment of the trustees shall be subject to ratification by the Federation at the annual general meeting. These trustees have already been proposed by the board, and the purpose of the AGM is to ratify. So the names that we have gotten for the board, which we need this AGM to ratify, are the following under Article 35(1) of the Constitution of the Federation. Mr. Mark Joseph Obuya, who is a partner at Lonel Consultants. He comes in as a trustee. We have Mr. John Karanja from the Protective Security Industry Association. He comes in as a trustee. And Mr. Charles Owele, who is Director of Canon Agro Agencies, who also has been recommended by the Board of Management to be a trustee. Our duty as an AGM is to ratify these names. So be inviting for a proposer and a seconder to do that. Can I get a proposer for the ratification of these three names from the floor? Do I see a hand up? There's a lady up there.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Olwach, Chief Executive Officer, Kenya Tea Growers Association. I'm happy to propose the trustees we have been presented.
Thank you, Linda, for proposing that we adopt these three names. A seconder, please. There's another hand at the corner there.
Good afternoon. Mweni Ngui, Wandi Packaging. I second.
Thank you for seconding. We have now ratified these three names to be the trustees of this federation. Going forward, can we give a clap to them? And I want to invite Mr. Mark Obuya, who is in the room, to be upstanding so that members can appreciate you. He's the immediate past president before Habil. So thank you, Mr. Obuya, and welcome. So I've done my job. Thank you so much for your attention. Back to you, Chairman, President.
Thank you very much. I think let's give a big hand to Apollo Kiare. You know, elections are normally a very bruising exercise, and we have learned that in Kenya. Every 5 years, for the last year, almost there's no economic activity that goes on because of the, pending the coming elections. And I'm told that by the globally, I think about 80 countries this year are going to have elections, which is a significant number. And if they were to borrow anything from FKE, I think we would lend them Apollo Kiarie to show them how to do it. Thank you very much. Mine is actually to congratulate the newly elected members of both the management board and the board of trustees of FKE. I think we'll carry the torch ahead into the future, and in particular, the incoming national president, whom I'll work closely with, and the new team in the management board, because I hope I'm still a member of the management board for the next few years or so. Thank you very much. So most welcome, and my hearty congratulations for having sailed through. Now, at this juncture, let me request the executive director to facilitate the next session.
Then national president and I were getting our protocols right, wondering which comes first. We will now want to have a very significant event, which is a symbolic handing over of power from one, is it a regime? We don't have regimes, from one president, the outgoing one to the incoming one. So I'd like to invite Dr. Gilda Olaka to the podium. This is how it will work. Dr. Gilda Odera, to the podium to be symbolically handed over the mantle by Dr. Habil Olaka. The instruments are in the president's hand. I believe you have them. What's happening? That gavel represents the power of the national president. Every time there's a decision, you gavel. So that will be your symbol of power, to be used gently since it will be in the hands of a lady. The other instrument is the Constitution of the Federation of Kenya Employers, which the national president helps the board, the staff, the members uphold. So I'll hand this to Dr. Olaka to hand over to Dr. Odera, from one doctor to another. If you could stay on the podium for a minute, Dr. Odera, for the president to tell us what will happen next.
Thank you very much. Now that the incoming national president is up here on the podium, I think I would request her to make maximum use of the podium floor and therefore give us some brief remarks, what we can call the acceptance speech, and give us her vision of the future for FKE. Thank you very much. Karibu.
Thank you very much, Dr. Olaka. Good afternoon. You know, when I stand here, I must say that the theme of this year's AGM, enterprising resilience and sustainability. It's been 65 years that FKE can now say we have a female, the first female national president. 65 years. And yes, it has taken resilience. It has. It has taken dedication. Sustainability in the sense that you have to sustain something for it to carry on. And so, yes, I know many of you have seen my face here for very many years, but that was resilience to get here. And so I want to thank you all for your confidence. I want to thank our now immediate past president, Dr. Habil Olaka, for his able leadership. He has led the board very well. And you can see where we are now. For the last two sessions, 2 years. Dr. Olaka, thank you very much. We have worked very well together in the board, and he has shown a lot of confidence in board members because we too have had a lot of confidence in him. At the Federation board, the way we work, there's a lot of trust in the office of the president. The president works with the board members closely alongside the executive director. And that is why I believe you can see that it is 65 years, that this is a 65th AGM, that we're not throwing chairs at each other. The way Dr. Olaka had said it happens in politics in other places, and maybe not even politics in other organizations. Because as the board members and as yourselves as members, we have seen that you do appreciate what the Federation does for you. We were taken through our financial position. You've seen it for yourself. That's the sort of transparency that the Federation has. And I do hope you noticed that indeed we can do so much better. We can. We have done well. And I think you need to clap for yourselves. We have done well, very well. And I know we can do better. I know that if each and every organization here shared with one other organization why they are members and why they need to come and join, we'll double the numbers in this room. The executive director alluded here and even said that her staff were here from 4 a.m. because of what happened. But maybe what she did not tell you is how stretched the staff are and how dedicated they are. They work. I'll stand here and tell you this today. They work. They do 2, 3 people's jobs per person. But why? We as a board have always wanted to increase our staff. But we need to be able to afford to sustain that. Just the same way in your organizations, you're going through the same thing. And so my challenge to us today, I will not make a long speech, is for us to pull together the board and the members to see how to strengthen even further this great organization. Somebody made a comment, but it was premature. So I'll just speak a little on it. And when she was asking whether we lobby Parliament, it takes time, it takes staff, it takes resources, which has been going on, by the way. But we could do so much more. If maybe some of your organizations said, I'm going to come in and sponsor and help you quietly amongst us, push for this lobbying of this bill and that amendment. That is how we pull together. So ladies and gentlemen, I just want to keep it brief and say, I am truly grateful and I'm honored for your confidence. Rest assured, I am here to serve. I'm standing on giants. I cannot stop before I mention one of our giants who's here with us today, Mr. Hirji Shah. He was sharing with me how he's been in FKE as a member, not necessarily a board member, but as a member and then a board member and a trustee for 50 years. He can tell the story. And I think we need to honor him with a louder clap. Because of those giants and the confidence that they have in me, that the board has in me, that you members have in me, I want to give you my guarantee that I will serve you with excellence and we will take FKE to a greater, higher level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that very enlightening speech and your vision of the way forward. And now we come to the item of on the agenda of transacting any other business which may be properly transacted at the AGM. And may I request the executive director to indicate if there is any item that may be transacted at an AGM that was received from members.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have not, as the secretary, received any other matters from any member which can properly be transacted under this agenda item. So there are no matters to be transacted.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And we were expecting RBA to be in the room, but since they have not come, I think we'll just proceed on. And we now move on to the next item, which is the chief guest's address, which will be on the theme enterprise resilience and sustainability. But let me first of all recognize our chief guest, Dr. Julius Kipngetich, the Group CEO of the Jubilee Holdings Limited. Let me extend my heartfelt gratitude to every one of you for your patience and engagement throughout the AGM. It's now time to turn our attention to a subject of paramount importance in today's business landscape, and that's enterprise resilience and sustainability. To shed light on this critical topic, we have the privilege of hosting a great business leader as our chief guest, Dr. Julius Kipngetich, the Group CEO of the Jubilee Holdings Limited. Dr. Kipngetich is a distinguished business leader whose remarkable career spans both the private and public sectors. He is known for his big mindset, innovative thinking, and unwavering focus on achieving tangible results. His leadership has been instrumental in transforming institutions into beacons of success and sustainability. Dr. Julius Kipngetich's career is a testament to his versatility and strategic vision. From his pivotal role as the Chief Operating Officer at Equity Group Holdings to his tenure as CEO of Kenya Wildlife Services, where he notably enhanced the organization's performance and sustainability, his contributions have been profound and far-reaching. Moreover, as Managing Director of the Investment Promotion Center, he played a critical role in positioning Kenya as a prime destination for foreign investment. His academic achievements, including a Bachelor of Commerce, a Master's in Business Administration, and a PhD, further underscores his commitment to excellence and continuous learning. Dr. Kipngetich, your leadership at Jubilee Insurance, especially during these challenging times, has been exemplary. Your efforts have not only fortified the company, but have also contributed significantly to the broader financial ecosystem in Kenya. We are eager to hear your thoughts on how we can collectively foster a resilient and thriving business environment. Without further ado, it is my great honor to welcome to the stage Dr. Julius Kipngetich.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Abel and Jackie, and all the members of FKE. It's a great pleasure for me to be the chief guest at your AGM and share some thoughts of what the next 65 years will look like. So congratulations, first of all, to the FKE and the membership for celebrating your 65 years. And congratulations, Gilda, for being the new president. Okay. I'm glad that FKE is already recognizing a day diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we celebrate the first woman president of FKE. So congratulations. Congratulations to Mike Masharia. We have worked together in the tourism industry and as a CEO of Kenya Hotel Keepers and Caterers, and all the other members who are elected today. I don't know how many of you are 65 years yet of age. 65 years means you are born in 1959. That's what it means. And for those of you who are 65 or near there, or even above, most likely you are now a grandfather, isn't it? Or a grandmother. Most likely you have retired, or in Kenyan lingua, you have lighter duties. You are probably have adjusted back to a family of two, you and your spouse, or you could be a divorcee, family of one, or a widow or a widower. And a lot of things are going through your mind, isn't it? A time for reflection, a time to refresh, a time to rethink. And I guess that's where FKE is today. It's in a position to rethink what it wants to be in the next 65 years, and how, therefore, the need for some new plan, a new approach. And so, therefore, your theme for today is appropriate because it's talking about resilience and sustainability. The next 65 years will definitely be very different from the past 65 because the challenges of tomorrow are very different from what you have gone through. And so, therefore, it requires a different mindset, a different approach, a different attitude in the way FKE should approach the future. And I will share some thoughts about what that future will look like. But if you look at the past 65 years, several things have happened. We have gone through a Cold War. If you are in the generations of people, you would be considered a baby boomer, those who are born after the Second World War. And so the younger people would consider you ancient. So the Cold War ended in 1989, but a lot of new paradigms emerged, new thinkings. We have also gone through incredible technological revolution in the last 65 years. For those of you who are that age, you will know that at one point, Kenya had only one TV station, which used to open late afternoon, and by 11 o'clock it was closed. And we had only one radio station, which used to open at 5 a.m., and by 11 o'clock it was closed. And I'm sure there's a song you're already familiar with. Okay? But today, the world is open. The internet is here. And with it came incredible access to information. And today, we are now talking about artificial intelligence and the impact of that on the way we work, the way we do things, the way we think will be profound. We are also, in the last 65 years, the climate of the world changed. I know we talk about climate change. Many people use words heavily, but climate change essentially is about critical observations about the way the Earth weather has changed, observed over a 30-year period. We have gone through those 30 years, and we can confirm that the Earth weather patterns have fundamentally changed. Now, that fundamental change was a result of human activities, as a result of employers like you and me, who then released more carbon than the earth is able to absorb. That imbalance has caused incredible havoc, and we are seeing the effects of that today. Nairobi has gone through last almost 2 months of heavy rain. That heavy rain has never been observed in Nairobi in history. Now, another part of that is coming, which is a drought. Expect a drought in the next 1 or 2 years, which will be the most severe that we have never gone through like that before. So we will be talking about the impact of that in tomorrow, but that has happened within the last 65 years. Clear observation that the climate of the world has changed. The other thing also is globalization. We have gone through incredible change in the way the world works, and we no longer have employers talk about, oh, we are Kenya class or Africa class. Today's world is you're either world class or you're nothing. So we have been exposed. How do we respond as FKE, as employers, to challenges of globalization? We also, because of the information revolution, the world has become more democratic and open. You can't hide yourself in another corner of the world and pretend that the rest of the world doesn't know. The internet never forgets. We are in a world of social media. People can express themselves and say whatever they wanted. So the world has changed so much in the last 65 years. Now the next 65 will be even faster. So we need to prepare FKE for a world which is running much faster in terms of technological revolution. Climate change will have a greater impact than before. The world will be more globally wired than ever. We are in a world of information revolution. Data science will be everywhere. And we are in a world of incredible freedom by the average citizen. Somebody who probably a few years ago could not be heard, today is called an influencer and has 1 million followers. So from nothing to 1 million followers and can change public policy. Today, a president can be criticized. You hire a plane from Dubai and people will do the maths and get quotations and say, this is unacceptable. You as employers, you are going to be challenged by even employees. You'll have a Generation Z in your organization who will tell you, I'm not coming to work tomorrow. And, or even they just disappear for a week. And then when they come back, they say, oh, okay, where were you? Then the next thing you get a call from the parent saying, excuse my daughter. What are you going to do? Are you going to follow your rules, the employment law as we know it today? Or you are going to adjust to a totally different world? If you have become too harsh, they do a campaign about you in social media, and by 1 o'clock, people are boycotting your products. The world has changed. And so therefore, FKE has changed. So, therefore, as we then look at the next 65, I want to propose a few strategic responses as FKE. The first one is we now need, as a country and perhaps as a continent, a new labor strategy. Now, remember, there's a difference between strategy and strategic plan. I know you're launching your strategic plan, but is it anchored in a national labor strategy? Now, a national labor strategy for Kenya has to decide what are we competitive in? What are we competitive in? My observation over the last 30 years or so has been that Africa needs to reposition itself relative to the world. We have always been that continent of negative things. And if there is anything which is progressive, we never go beyond 2% of it. Anything which is progressive in the world, just know Africa hovers around 2%. And anything which is negative about the world, we carry around 30%. So we need to reverse the narrative about Africa and say our people are different from what you think. And that is what a new labor strategy needs to think about. I'll give you the example of India. When the microcomputers were rolled out in 1983 in a big way, the first people to roll them out were IBM. India saw it as an opportunity and rethought its labor strategy and say, if this thing is called a personal computer, it means there were around 5 billion people at the planet at the time. It means everybody will have it one day. Who will support in terms of software, in terms of hardware, in terms of communication? And that is why they created hubs like Bangalore. So they had a long-term national strategy, and today they are competitive in IT labor. 40 years later, they are in pole position. We need to be clear about what is the position of Kenya in the next 65 years in repositioning our labor for a world that we must predict how it will emerge tomorrow. With that clarity, then the employers of Kenya will then reposition themselves clearly in 3 areas: skills and knowledge, ethics and values, and hard work and discipline. If we position ourselves so that we can say any employee that emerges from Kenya will be world-class in skills and knowledge, will be completely ethical and have strong values, and have the discipline of hard work. If that happens, then we will be very clear to the world that this is your first choice where you get the best employees. For example, Philippines positioned itself to provide maids for the world. And they have no shame about it. And they knew that people in the Middle East were newly rich and they needed labor for that positioning. Clarity. If you go to Dubai, for example, Dubai is the largest construction site on earth. Now, but Dubai, the Emiratis in Dubai are only 900,000. So who was going to provide this construction? The countries around Dubai had already positioned themselves. Opposite Dubai is Pakistan and India. So Pakistan and India had already positioned themselves with TVETs, knowing that there is a neighbor which is growing at 10% year on year. So we need a national labor strategy, position Kenya very clearly, so that then we can say with confidence that Kenya is the first choice of employers in the world. And that's how FKE will receive more members. Number 2, is excellent business environment and competitiveness. FKE has to be the number one advocate for Kenya to be the premier for Africa in terms of attracting new business. Now, what does it take? There are three challenges that affects us in attracting new business. Number one is our public service is wanting. Okay? Our public service is really wanting. Now, if we create a world-class public service, that is, the common services of our country are excellent, FKE will be attracting more new members. And now I want to give you an example of Nairobi. Now, if you look at our premier highway, Uhuru Highway, okay, I know we have constructed the upper deck, but that is a private enterprise. The lower deck is a public service, and it's in such a bad state. So if you are the minister in charge of infrastructure, what is going on in your mind when the core public infrastructure is not functioning? Or if you are the governor of Nairobi, how are you supporting, industrial area, for example, in discharge of waste? Because you are increasing the cost of business if the FKE member is actually building their own public services. Okay. So we need a world-class public service. Remember, we had it in 1963. Kenya had the best public service in Africa in 1963. We have wavered, and that is creating incredible stress on employers and business people in creating new jobs. The second one is the cost of doing business. We need, as a country, to configure what do we need to do in the cost of doing business. Number one, of course, is energy. We need, as a country, to look at the cost of energy. And how did we arrive at high cost of energy in the first place? So cost of doing business, so licenses, a lot of them are relating to public services, but we need to address that cost of doing business. Number one, as I said, beginning with energy. And the third aspect of creating that environment is governance and ethics. The issue of corruption. If for us as a country, we want to be that leader that we aspire to be, we have to address the issues of governance and ethics in our society. There is no reason why Kenya should be in usually the bottom of Transparency International Index. We are with countries like Pakistan, Nigeria. Now, if you look at even Somalia, we're in the same category. Countries that have challenges of governance and ethics are always good candidates for criminal gangs to fester in your country. Whether you call it Al-Shabaab, Taliban, Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda. If you look at all countries that have problems with corruption, they have always problems with terrorism. They always go together because they find a home. So if we address public services, cost of doing business, and issues of governance and ethics, I think FKE will have done its role in creating a business environment for employers to come and be resident here. If you look at Dubai, for example, why did it grow? If you look at Dubai 40 years ago, Dubai was just a backwater place. But look at the thinking, the new thinking they put. That new thinking created that large construction. Today, Dubai a country of 900,000 citizens has 8 million foreigners as expatriates working there. Can we do the same for? Okay. In fact, if you look at their bidding for the World Cup, and they're almost talking like they are Europeans rather than Africans. So the question is, how should Kenya reposition itself? I recall in 2004, I was the world, okay? And we can say, yes, we are in the middle of Africa, but we look different. That difference, we can all work together and redefine it. So I was thinking we need to then say Kenya should be the premier African country. If you want it to invest in Africa, your gateway should be Kenya. But Kenya should be welcoming. You see, the Emiratis are Islamic and they have a certain culture. And then they told the foreigners, oh, yeah, it's okay, you can come in your shorts and women can swim in bikinis and we have no problem with it. They had to rethink their culture in relation to what they wanted to be. And so therefore, I'm sure most of you last Christmas preferred going to Dubai rather than Mombasa. It is cheaper for you to go to Dubai than to go to Mombasa, even flights. Look at how they have repositioned themselves. Their airline, Emirates, is the premier airline in the world. It overshadowed the British Airways, Air France, KLM. All those are gone. They are now competing with the American carriers. That's repositioning yourself. And that requires strategy, not a strategic plan. Strategy. We also need to rethink a lot of things, okay? Attracting FDI. For example, Kenya's ambition is to grow at 10%, but we have never really defined what does it mean to grow at 10% year on year. Let me just give you examples. To grow at 10%, your FDI, foreign direct investment, should be 40% of GDP. What is Kenya's GDP? $110 billion. 40% is $42 billion year on year. Now, 42 billion multiplied by 140, that gives you what? Almost 5 trillion shillings in new investments from foreigners every year. That's what it means. Now, how does Kenya attract 5 trillion shillings every year? You have to look at, is your airport good enough? Are immigration services excellent? Do you get work permits as quickly? Okay. Do you access land quick? One of the biggest headaches of investors today is access to land. First of all, one, public land is held by speculators because they were allocated. Because then you have a title. Now you give public land to a speculator and then charges an investor so much money. So we need to rethink all that and say, and then once, if for example is a manufacturer, okay, you settle on land, and then where is the water? Where is the electricity? Where are the roads? If, for example, I locate myself in, say, Mashuru in Kajiado County, can Kajiado County pull out land within a new road in 3 months, new water services, new electricity services? Or I have to invest in it myself? That increases my cost of doing business. That is what we need to rethink, a new attitude completely. So therefore, I would like FKE to be part of that new thinking, a new Kenya, okay? Another example is tourism, for example. Tourism has been talked about, or Kenya is the premier safari country, but it stops there. Let me give you the numbers. Our best tourism year was 2011. We receive close to 2 million tourists. And we have never gone back there again. Again, there were few challenges to do with Al-Shabaab that created a momentum for tourists to go to Zanzibar. Okay, and Zanzibar has boomed ever since. Okay, they are thinking of. I heard the other day they are thinking of having a Formula 2 track, not Formula 1 yet. But you see, you move from Formula 2 to Formula 1, and you see when a country attracts usually Formula 1 races, it's like a mark of we have arrived. I know Mutua was talking about Formula 1 in Machakos, but probably that was Formula 10. But that was a good thought, though. So, tourism is one area where we are actually competitive. Forget about comparative, and we're competitive, but we have never translated. Look at the country that is number one in tourism globally, which is France. France last year received 117 million tourists, twice its population. Now, think of that, because for every 10 tourists, one permanent job is created. So in France, there are 10, 11 million people, direct employees in the tourism industry. Look at the impact it creates on agriculture, because then these people must be fed. 117 million people to feed them in your country. Agriculture just lifts itself automatically. You don't have to worry. Now, what have we done to those of you who are tourism players? We have done very little, actually, to invest in reviving and promoting tourism. A good example is just around 25 million people pass through our airport every year, Jomo Kenyatta. Half of those are, roughly around half are on transit. Now, we argued, Macharia, you are familiar, we argued about, can we release them, okay, when they're on transit, so then they can come to the city and shop and be safari, go to Nairobi National Park. The people who blocked it is the Minister of Interior. Say, oh, we are worried about Nigerians and drugs. But remember, the same Nigerians transit to where? Dubai, for shopping, for everything. Now, and if they catch one, the law catches up with them. If you are with drugs, you're gone. They have no qualms about it. They say, come more, but don't joke with us. Look at the attitude. We will have released how many tourists? 12 million additional tourists by just changing a very simple policy, which is release them from the airport. If all of them decide to come to the city, look at the impact on Nairobi's economy. Now, so I leave those three challenges to FKE, okay? New labor strategy, excellent business environment and competitiveness, and then reposition Kenya in the world. If you do those things, you can see the kind of challenges, the changes that it can come. Rwanda repositioned itself in a very simple thing, tourism. Today, that country is 4% the size of Kenya. It's recovering from a genocide. But it attracts more meetings than Kenya. Last year, they did 37 major meetings. Kenya did 32. Really? Rwanda, really? Can beat you guys. So therefore, I want to end by saying, FKE therefore is in a pole position to alter many things in Kenya. You can alter many things, okay? So I would like you to be the greatest voice for private sector. There are other voices, remember, which filled your vacuum. You created a vacuum, okay? Others have then taken you as competitors rather than collaborators. So we need then to say, how should we make FKE the premier voice of private sector? That requires strategy. And I challenge Mike and Gilda to provide that new thinking, together, of course, with Jackie. How do we make FKE the premier advocate? Okay? And for a country that never went through war, we shouldn't be having the kind of GDP figures that we have. Number two is to stimulate public debate on Kenya excellence. We must have a public debate, public discourse. How can Kenya be excellent and be driven by private sector? Right now, it's driven by government voices. In the 90s, it was driven by civil society. The 80s, 90s, civil society drove it. From now going forward, I want to propose the private sector through FKE stimulates public debate on what Kenya excellence should look like. And then number three, to check the excesses of government and global voices. You know, every country in the world, by the way, plays their own interest. We need to define what is Kenya's interest, and if governments goes off script or other global voices goes off script of those interests, we need to be the voice. Now, for you to define all those interests, you require incredible research and data analytics, so that then you can define what our interests are as a country and be able to defend those interests in the event there is a gap left by government not able to defend those interests. Because the economy is all of us collectively, private sector, government, civil society, all of us are part of the economy. We need to be checking each other so that then we are all collectively protecting those interests, and those who are not able to protect those interests, we're able to voice it. Okay? In that way, then we will lead the new renaissance, and I believe that the next 65 years will be prosperous, it will be successful, and hopefully we will be rich. And that's my wish for you. I thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Daktari, for that very well delivered keynote speech. And I think at this juncture, you recall there was a time when a question was coming from the floor. And I think at this juncture, let's combine the three presentations. There was the national president's report, then there's the annual report from the executive director, and then the remarks from the chief guest. And so we can have an open member discussion session. And for this, I think I would like to invite Mr. Dickens Ouma to come forth and moderate this session.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, the Honorable Chief Guest, Executive Director, board members of the Federation of Kenya, employers, and the esteemed members of FKE. I will have a brief open plenary discussion touching on the National President's report, the Chief Executive Officer's annual report, as well as the chief guest's address. So very briefly, may I just have your hands up? You make it short, and I shall be moderating that session. You're welcome. The silence means that the issues that were being brought really were cutting us through like a double-edged sword. And particularly the inspiring speech from the chief guest, I think has really gotten us something to think about, looking at the last 65 years, the present analysis, and focusing on the next 65 years on the world of work, and specifically how we are going to live in this world that keeps changing. Members, you're most welcome. Can I have somebody to take a mic? Kindly introduce yourself, where you come from, and the question.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Kikuvi from Elite Tools, here representing the finance department. My concern goes to the address from the chief executive as well as the chief speaker. There was an item about policy advocacy, and we as employers are concerned about the item on duties, taxes, which are being charged when doing business. Practically, when we talked about positioning a country like Dubai with minimal taxes compared to us with the taxes going close to 40% of gross incomes. Does it not sound quite unpositioned for the business environment? What is the FK's lobbying business in ensuring that duties and taxes do not hurt the economic activities?
Thank you very much, Paul, for that question directed to the
Okay, so that's an easy question to answer. There's nothing wrong with taxation at all. It depends on what you are aiming at. If you look at the Scandinavian countries, you would think Kenyan taxes are a joke compared to them. It is what you do with the taxes. So if you are talking about Dubai, they have a different strategy, okay? Because it's a small dot. So it's easy to tax less. But with the Scandinavian, on average, they pay tax up to 65% of your income. So it is what you do. What FKE should be focusing on, and my recommendation is, what are we doing with the taxes that we collect? Because it's a trade-off. Remember, tax is a trade-off between public and private good. It's a trade-off. So if, for example, government is taxing you at 40%, okay, then government then should begin carrying the burden that 40% must deliver. Otherwise, it cedes that to the private citizen. And there's a trade-off also between, if, for example, you are trying to privatize, not really privatize, to private solutions to public problems. You see, like, for example, how you have defended yourself when government has failed is, if there is no water, you dig your own borehole. If there are potholes on the road, what do? You buy your own four-wheel. But how many people are able to do that switch? So most of you elite have now been caught up where, you have actually created private solutions to everything, and government is still coming for more. That's where you have a problem. So government needs to, through our lobbying, needs to up its game in providing public services. That is why I talk about, we need to speak more on governance and ethics, because that is where the problem is. Remember, our previous president talked about 2 billion lost every day through corruption, inefficiencies, and the rest. So 2 billion translates to 700 billion in a year. So if, for example, that 700 billion was saved through cutting on corruption and inefficiencies in public services, can you imagine how much we would unleash and how Nairobi would be different, for example, or public schools would be different, or water services? So we need to be very strong advocates of excellent public service, not just in collecting, but how it translates that collection into the public services it promised in the taxation. Remember, every budget statement is a promise of what you are going to do, but they never do, but they collect the tax nonetheless. And that's where the challenge is.
Thank you very much, Dr. for that answer. Trade-off, there must be a correlation between taxing and delivery. Could we have another intervention?
My name's Michael Amaru from Pembroke House School. My question revolves around more or less the same question, and the issue that most employers and employees are facing in the housing levy and the soon to be implemented shift contributions. This notion of asking employees and the employers to contribute gross rather than basic. It's a very big problem, not just for the employers, but also for the employees, because it's now negating on the third rule. Yes.
I don't have an answer for that as such. It's a difficult question because my own personal opinion is the housing levy was not well thought out. Okay. And the difference between a private good and a public good. If I have a house, a grass thatch house, it is my house. And it's me who has chosen a grass thatch house because I'm in the tropics. So therefore, why should government force me to contribute to a flat in Pangani? Why? You know, probably Jacqueline has a better answer than me. But for me, it was not. We need to rethink it again and say, what does affordable housing mean? In a place like, Singapore, remember, is an island. So it's easy to talk about, housing. But in a country where 70% live in rural areas in their own dwellings, what are you exactly saying about, should it be an urban tax for Nairobians only? Maybe. So there's still a lot of things which were not thought out that or never disclosed to the public that we need then to debate. And that is why we are saying we need to invest a lot in research and data science so that then it informs public policy and where we then lobby. Okay? So we need to build capacity, incredible capacity to lobby. Okay? Anticipate so that the government knows that there will be incredible, well thought out replies from FKE if we try any public policy. And that in that way, we improve government, the way it works, and the engagement then benefits our members and their employees. Because right now, you're having a levy. I mean, at least my pay slip, I have lost almost 20% of my pay slip to taxes in the last 1 year. Can I pay more? The answer is no, I don't want to pay more. But there's another one coming in July, SHIF. But it's low, so we have to implement, But so we need to rethink a lot of things about the country. So probably, Jackie, you need to say something about this affordable housing levy.
I think what you've said is spot on, Dr. Kimyetich, and actually reflects the sentiments of the Federation, many of our members and Kenyans. I've been in Nairobi for many years. Affordable housing is needed. You know, the Jericos, Botelas, Bahatis, they fulfilled a certain need, but they were available to those who needed them. And then the rent was very low. You know, you could afford it. So the need for affordable housing, decent housing in the city is there. And I know there's a plan to pull down those old estates and build modern ones. We didn't actually object to the idea of affordable housing, and we are represented on the board by Mr. Mutava here. The challenge was the financing of it and the values of Africans, because we were targeting the middle to low income earners. They want a house in the rural area. That's their first priority. Where are they going to be buried? Where's their family? In Nairobi, they're willing to live wherever because they cannot afford. And if you look at the structure of the financing, I know the lowest cost is it's 650,000 or 800. 800. 800. Now, you are earning 15,000 shillings, 20,000, below 30,000 for sure. Can you afford it? And you know, the initial idea was better than what we ended up with. Because we fought the initial idea, we didn't want to match, employers didn't want to match. It's pushed up the payroll costs significantly. And we were saying, make it voluntary. Actually, that was our first rallying call. Just make it voluntary, so that those who want the affordable housing will opt to have it if they look at their finances. It was not made voluntary. At that time, the promise was you'd pay, and if after 7 years you didn't get a house, you as the contributor would get your money plus your employers matching back. But I think the government was advised that, you know, that means you're making a promise to Kenyans, and if they don't get a house, they could actually sue you. So the government changed its mind completely, and it's now a tax. We are all paying it. There's no guarantee you'll get a house unless you can afford it, because the allocation criteria, maybe it's there, but we don't really know that allocation criteria. Then affordability is also an issue. There are many people, the ones being targeted, the young people, people who don't own homes, who are already servicing mortgages. Some older generation like us who have struggled all our lives to pay mortgages, you're done with it, and then now. So I don't know how we're going to engage on this one, but it's a real big challenge. And as you say, SHIF is coming. Again, there's a challenge there. So the structure of the good plans that the government has, the financing proposal is where employers have pain points. So we don't have answers, but we did everything we could. The board, in terms of engagement, we were called to State House as a board to specifically on the housing to explain our position, and we did. And to some extent, the government saw our point. We thought we had convinced them to exempt employers, not to require that we match, but then we are where we are.
So
That didn't
probably
really help,
what
did
we
I?
need probably as FKE is to talk to government again. Let's come to the table and use the experience so far and say we need to rethink some of the clauses and what really is affordable housing. And for example, if they want to give me title to my flat, but you see that flat is sitting on government land, how does that sit? So we need to rethink again, given the experience that we have gone through, so that then we make it successful in relation to what was the government thinking affordable housing should address. Yeah. Mike.
Sorry, my mic is dead. Mike, can you take the mic?
Thank you, Dickens. I just wanted to help add on to what Dr. Kipngetich and ED have said. First of all, in our view, the problem was not housing. The problem was transport. So if you live in Siaya and you work in Kisii, can you leave your home every day and go back, get back home? So we're thinking more because preliminary data shows that everybody who is working has a home somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might not be in the urban areas, it could be in the rural areas, but they need to get to their workplace. So initially, even when it was mooted by the previous government, our position as FKE was, can we address the transport problem? Because that's where it is. It's not in housing. Secondly, as a board, we had discussed conducting a research on the whole area of redistribution. And in this, we talk about redistribution means taxes and also other areas. What is commonly referred to in your circles, Julius, as black tax, where you have to pay 10% of your gross to the church if you belong there. Yeah, so that's tithe. It's part of the redistribution. You have how many medical harambees per month? It's redistribution, because now you're taking social welfare as a private problem as opposed to a public problem. How many funeral bills do you cater for at the end of the month? So all this, and our estimation was that the total redistribution was about 65%. So in terms of what you pay from your income, you're losing about 65%. And there's also consumption tax, which we are not talking about, VAT. You remember in the last Finance Act, VAT on fuel doubled. So you're paying more to consume because fuel has an impact on everything else that is produced, including agricultural goods. So that is something that we still want to undertake as a board, to look at the impact of redistribution. But from what was asked, why gross and not net? You know, we have a government of ardent churchgoers, and they know that tithe is on gross. So maybe they are just copying that. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Okay, Mike.
Mr. Muchai.
I think Mike just requires a comment. And for me, our strategic response, probably as FKE, is Jackie, we probably need a chief economist in our structure. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Probably, I don't know. Jackie says, whoever that is, we need now to sort of build a very robust capacity in research and data analytics, so that then we can, remember I talked about stimulate public debate on Kenya excellence. So we need now to enhance, so that then we say, this is our strategy, but this is the way we are going to execute it, so that it makes sense. Right now, we have probably a good idea not being executed properly, and that creates some disconnect in the economy. Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Angela. I have two questions, but not to look like I'm belaboring the point on the affordable house levy. For companies that have a lot of, not a lot, but we have a couple of expatriates, the issue of exit is still not clear. So you work, you leave, how does that money get refunded? Especially because you do not stand to benefit from the housing. I think the Kenya Association of Manufacturers had reached out to us to give some of our comments, and that is one of the things that came out. Because on the implementation of the AHL regulations, there is nothing on for someone who is not a resident at the end of the expiry of your permit, then what happens to your contribution? The other issue that I have seen, and we appreciate the advocacy that FKE is doing on behalf of employers. Recently, the Ministry of Interior increased the cost of the work permits by a whole 150%. Previously, we were paying 400,000 for a 2-year work permit. we are now paying 1 million shillings for the same. And I'm not sure what FKE did you advocate? Did you do something behind it? Is there anything? Is there any hope for us? Because and I had one when you were presenting your report, and you were discussing about looking at the gaps, the skills gap, and for some of the industries where we work in, the reason why we're bringing expatriates is because we do not have local talent. We do not have capacity, even in the institutions, our educational, especially the tertiary institutions, don't have capacity. So that is the reason why we're bringing in these expatriates. But what is there anything that FKE can do? Because I'm hoping 150% with no, I don't know if there was any discussions. It was something that looked like it was sneaked in. So I think I would like to hear what
Okay,
your
thank you.
responses.
Thank you, Jackie. And that's more you.
Yeah, to be straight to the point, there were no discussions before those increases happened. We were just as much taken by surprise as every Kenyan was. And that's happening increasingly. The point about advocacy, informed advocacy, about data, the position of industry, pointing out the implications and the impact of these laws on business then becomes very important. Often when we come to you members to ask for your views, it's a very short notice because like on the NISHIF laws, we had 4 days to read 4 bills and make submissions on Friday. The notice went out on Monday. The government didn't even post these things on the website until Tuesday. So we come to you and we ask for views and we don't get much. So we need to be attentive, responsive as employers. We have this data we play back to government. But even when we do, to be honest, the response has not always been positive. It's a very difficult terrain right now, the advocacy terrain. But we must not give up. We must keep discussing. Skill gaps, bringing foreign skills, yes, but I think we need to balance as employers. Are these skills really absent in the Kenyan market? And if they are, then the government will give you maybe 3 years to have a local holding that position. So we need to show as employers that we are taking initiatives to train Kenyans. This person who's coming in from Sri Lanka or wherever, is he training a Kenyan to impart these skills to them within a given time? We are engaged in a lot of skills discussions across the country. Fortunately, it's taking a lot of our time, but we are engaged. My appeal to you is please give us information. Like what you're saying now, we should have had it before the AGM. Just write to us and tell us this is an issue, this is a challenge, this is how it's impacting us, so we can gather data to play back to government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the chief guest. Thank you very much, the executive director and Mr. President. I wish to bring this to a close because we have 1 or 2 other items that should transact before we go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, I think we can then move to the next item, which I quickly refer to the ED to take us through.
Thank you. Let me do this standing. First of all, it's good to stand after a while. And we just now want to appreciate a few people who have either contributed to the work of the Federation or made today the success that I believe it is. I want to start with our chief guest. I found him standing here on the podium and I was wondering why you made him stand again after he had stood for so long, giving us that inspiring or I hadn't looked where he was. So I'm advised that he's not in the room. So I'll switch things around. We want to appreciate a gentleman who has served the Federation of Kenya Employers in many capacities, and today chose to come to be with us. He's been a board member of the Federation of Kenya Employers. He's been a president of the Federation of Kenya Employers. That time they were called chairman, I believe. Hirji, I'm talking about you. And then for the last few years, he served as trustee and finally as chairman of the board of trustees. And when I asked how long he's been around, I was told from the year 2000, if I'm not wrong, Hirji, to present, because he's just retiring today. Hirji Shah was also very instrumental in extending our current offices. If you go to the Federation, if you come to the Federation, which is your home, you will see it's a house, but there's a new extension where my office is, the reception, and our boardrooms. Hirji Shah was very instrumental in rallying up members to be able to support us, and now we have Pan Paper Boardroom and you should say it loud, Comcraft. These are things we'll remember you with for a long time, Hirji. So today we just wanted to say thank you for that service. And Mr. Hirji Shah, if you could kindly come to the podium. We want to say thank you for all the work you've done chairing our pension and provident fund schemes for many years. We have since moved our pension and provident fund schemes to a larger scheme because it did. You can. Is it easier if I come down there? Yes. A microphone shall follow me. And maybe to present this, I'll ask our immediate past president, who has just been elected as a trustee, to hand this certificate of appreciation to Mr. Hirji Shah for dedicated service as Chair, Board of Trustees of the Federation of Kenya Employers, 2000 to 2024. Asante sana Bwana Hirji. Please let's appreciate him for dedicated service. Thank you. The next one, I'd like to request the newly elected national president of the Federation to come. Okay, I'm advised that our chief guest wants to leave. So, Dr. Kimgetich, I had said nice things about you before I looked to my left and realized you were not there. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Kimgetich, for really saying yes the first time I requested if you could be the chief guest. No problem. You text him, you call him, he's very responsive. And you are a member of the Federation of Kenya Employers. So this is your AGM, but you've given us a very powerful rendition of what the future should look like. Thank you for the leadership role that you play in industry. And thank you for being our chief guest this morning. I will ask our national president, therefore, to hand over a very small token of appreciation to you to say asante. It is within, it's only public sector that has limits on the cost of this kind of thing, but I think it is just a small symbol of appreciation to you. We can show what it is, or is it wrapped? If it's wrapped, yes. It's a very, thank you very much. Thank you. We'll be in touch. I will then now ask Dr. Gilda Odera, to come to the podium. We want to say a big thank you to Dr. Olaka for the work that he's done, steering the Federation as the national president for the last 4 years until now. These board members and the president serve on voluntary basis. So asante sana. We know you'll still be with us, but this is just a small certificate of appreciation to you for dedicated service as National President of FKE for the year 2020 to 2024. Asante sana. Thank you very much. And with that, I think my work is done. I hand over the floor back to you. Actually, with your permission, Mr. President, I would like to invite Deacon Souma.
Very much, Madam CEO. Thank you very much, AD, National President. As we had indicated earlier on, we are relaunching the members portal, not because of anything, but we realized over the time that it was running that there were issues with respect to access. So what you're going to see today is basically a simplified form of the portal. I'm happy also to announce that in my engagement this morning, I met at least 2 members who actually confirmed that for the last 2 years, they've not called FKE because they've been able to access us through the portal. So this you'll find very accessible. It is accessed from our website homepage, which is indicated up there on the top right-hand corner. And to open the portal, you'll click on the members portal, which is on the right, the bottom right-hand side of the home page. I believe you can see it there. After you've clicked it and it opens, it will give you the page where you log in your credentials. The good news is that for those who have always used the portal, you'll not need new credentials. The ones that were there, you'll still use. So after you've entered that and you log in, then it will bring you the eWajiri portal homepage, and that is what you'll be seeing from your side. And there you'll be having various issues that you want to go to. For example, we have members services. You may want to request for services online. You'd want to book an appointment online on trainings, events, financials, and user management. So we'll go on those ones one by one. For example, if you want to request for an online service, then this is the page that you'll get. You may want to go for advocacy, conciliation, consultation, consultancy, disciplinary hearing. All these are free services that we offer: executive selection and recruitment, labor audit, legal opinion, legal representation in the ELRC, meetings, research, training, which we offer competitive we charge competitively, but of course we give you a concessional rate by virtue of being members. So once you click that, for example, if you want an appointment, of course that is what will come on your screen. Then you set an appointment by putting the date, the time, the duration, and the type of appointment. Okay, if it is consultancy, if it is consultation, you know, and of course you dispatch it to your key account manager, or there's a general email address that it will go to. Then from our side, it will automatically go to a specific officer. If you want, if you want to go to the trainings, then of course you click the part for training, then it will come out, the program code, the program description, department, then invoicing method, and of course it will give you all that you need when it comes to training, particularly when it comes to in-house training. It also gives you the opportunity to look there's an option for looking at our training calendar so that you are able to see what is coming on and you prepare yourself for it. The next one is on the upcoming events. If you wanted to know some of the events we have, if you go there, you'll definitely see, like this year we'll be having Employer of the Year Award, you know, Female Future Leadership Forum and Graduation, Girl and Tech event, Employers Annual Conference, and such kind of things. So it's able to give you in one screen all the events that are meant to come up in the particular year. On your financials, of course, you'll be able to see how much you owe us or how much is owing in terms of the different commercial services that we offer, like legal services, trainings, and all that. It's able to enable, I mean, it enables you to, you know, get your receipts for the amounts that you've paid. It's able to make you access any outstandings that you have so that you really do not need to call somebody to confirm from it. On the user management, of course, you can see there, it enables you to add a new user. For example, you may be having point persons at your enterprises, but if you have new staff that you'd want to have direct access with the FKE staff, then you are able to input that to create an account so that that new staff is able to access the services directly for ease of communication. So basically, that is it. Because that one gives you the profile of your enterprises, and at this point, I just want to encourage you members, this particular one enables you to even print your membership certificate online, so that you don't wait for it. Once you pay, then of course you get it immediately. And if you, for example, open a new, company and all that, or if you're a new member, it enables you to input the particulars of the new enterprise. Of course, it will come with an updated password and all that, the company registration number, KRA PIN, phone number, all the particulars that we need for purposes of proof of registration. That's basically the content section where it gives a snapshot of all the services that you may require, all that you may need, all that has been posted in our website, including some of the things that we normally get communication from you, like step by step on CBA, monetary clauses in CBA, final dues of deceased employee, types of employment contracts. So it basically gives you, some of the write-ups that we have that we know are very important for you in the day-to-day running of the enterprises. You are also able to access, if you're not able to get an officer immediately, some of the issues that I know are prevalent at the workplace, like step-by-step on disciplinary hearing, termination based on sickness, constructive dismissal, and all that. So all those write-ups are in there. Remember, some of the things that we put here are based on the needs that we get from you members. As a practitioner in the ELRC, I can tell you that 70% of the disputes that land in the Employment and Labor Relations Code have everything to do with individual rights claims, the alleged or purported unfair terminations. And therefore, we make it easy for you to access those so that you are able to, look at the do's and don'ts. And also generally to enable you to, on your day-to-day management in the human resource department. Finally, at the farthest end on the right-hand side, there are the ILO conventions and the labor laws which have been downloaded, so you can get them there directly. Yeah, so members, I just want to encourage you to interact with this portal. It is important. The world of work is going this direction. We are trying to work smart at the Secretariat. So most of the time, I know some of you who have called and you find that we are either in a meeting, chairing a CBA, or in court and all that. This is the safest way or the fastest way to access the Federation services. And we hope that you'll be able to interact with it. It may have hiccups, but we can only know those hiccups and improve on it if you are interacting with it and we are getting feedback from you. If you try and you keep quiet, we'll not know on what to improve. Thank you very much.
Members, are you still alive? There are only 2 items standing between you and lunch, so please bear with us. We had a lot packed into this program for good reason. We want to share with you the strategic plan, and then we celebrate FKE at 65, and then we go for lunch. So if all this can be done in under 20 minutes, I'm sure you'll be grateful. So I will summarize the presentation on the strategic plan. We went through a very rigorous process in coming up with this strategic plan for the period 2024 to 2028, the next 5 years. We have dubbed it Delivering Value for Members. This plan is aimed at improving how we work, how we deliver, addressing those issues and getting FKE to the level where Dr. Kimngetich was talking about. It resonates deeply with our commitment to fostering a resilient and sustainable enterprises in Kenya. That indeed is our vision, that we'd have resilient and empowered employers in this country. It is a reflection of what you told us, because we interviewed members, we interviewed the board, we interviewed our social partners, and it is a summary of what you told us to do, captured in what I believe was a very simple, straightforward, robust process, but ending up with key areas that we want to focus on. We tweaked our mission a bit and refined it to better communicate the purpose for which FKE exists. And our main goal is to address those issues we've been talking about this morning, creating a conducive business environment for employers, for industry. So we aim to influence labor and socio-economic policy towards creating a conducive business environment for employers in Kenya. Our promise to you is that FKA will be a powerful, balanced, and trusted voice for employers, not powerful from a point of view of political power, but a voice that when it speaks is listened to and heard, impactful. We thought about our values, and the values that we settled on build on our vision of working better together as a team, being innovative, being quick in terms of our response to the dynamic changes in the labor market, and also our desire for excellence. Doing it right the first time, getting it right the first time, at least cost. So, as a secretariat, we have committed to being progressive, agile, to exhibit teamwork and excellence, captured in one word, PATE, which is the top of the brain. So when you think of the top of FKE's brain, that is what we are. We have very clear targets and strategies because Dr. Kim Ngetich said it's not really about the plan. It's not the strategic plan. It's the strategies in that plan and how we implement them. So we have 4 main areas that we'll be focusing on in this strategic plan. One is your organization, a strong FKE brand, ensuring that we are a leading brand as an organization, that FKE has an emotional connection. You have an emotional connection with this organization that is yours, and your commitment to support it, defend it, be in it. A second one is the powerful and trusted voice for employers. We debated, is it for employers or of employers? It's for you that we speak. So trusted that when we speak, we have statistics, we are objective, and we speak for you. The third one is financial and organizational sustainability. That is fairly clear. The long-term viability of this federation, effectiveness in service delivery. So we're looking at both the human resources and the financial resources that we have. And the building project is part of that. Building the people capacity is part of that. Then all these three, the strong brand, the powerful and trusted voice for employers, the financial and organizational sustainability. The question we then ask, are you satisfied? What is the level of member satisfaction and joy about the federation? So we want to create a sense of value and belonging for each of us, because FK is not just about the secretariat, it's about you and your participation in what we do and your joy in how we deliver. So based on these 4 key areas, we have some 8 flagship initiatives, as we call them. We know that the realization of these targets will not only secure the federation, but also ensure, you're already in the house, ensure that employers' voice is heard and respected in the business environment. Since you're already in the house has disappeared. I was going to talk about the house. I'm actually looking at it, so you might as well project it. It captures very well the summary. It has our vision, our mission, and our core values. I've talked about the strategic focus areas, the pillars on which this strategy is built. Then we have flagship targets, about 6 or 7 different initiatives that we want to undertake, where it says our aspiration, the second block of blue. First is the FKE headquarters, which we have shared with you. I'm glad to see that AIA are still in the house. You can then ask them questions at lunchtime. Pulling off this FKE headquarters will give us diversification in our revenue streams. Of course, we'll just occupy 1 or 2 floors. The other floors would then be leased. I talked to you about our initiative with ITC ILO. We want an e-campus platform to support our training delivery. The e-Wajiri portal, Dickens has just relaunched it. We want to set up an FKA advocacy fund so that we're actually short of money to do advocacy. Advocacy in this country is very expensive. because our legislators, our policymakers believe that you only do advocacy in a place such as this, where you are away looking at the blue waters of the ocean or the lake for 3 days. It's very expensive. So we need money, and we'll be raising funds towards that. We want and have been working towards setting up an FKA training institute. We don't know if this is what we'll call it, but it's a school, an academy of employers for training and capacity building. We want to set up an FKA foundation. We currently have about 8 projects which we run with funding, but it takes up a lot of the secretariat's time and oversight. We want a separate entity that will be carrying out these projects which we run on your behalf to build the capacity of employers and also to support you. And looking at the membership of the Federation, we believe that there's a lot of room for new members to come in. If you look at this country, I believe there are over 100,000 entities. Actually, there are about 150,000 based on a report we saw on IMF. We are less than 5,000. I mean, the who's who of industry in this country is with us, but there are small, medium-sized entities that you could help us bring in. So we want to double the size of the Federation in terms of numbers in this strategic planning period. And finally, we were challenged by the board actually to be a knowledge hub. This dream we have had for many years. We are connected to employers all over the world. So building the capacity in research that Dr. Kim Ngetich was talking about is here, FKA Research and Knowledge Center, so that if you need any information on the world of work, on work, we have it, and you can come, and it can also support your study in that executive diploma in industrial relations. We have key deliverables, which I will not go into, but we have very clear targets that we'll be measuring our performance on. And finally, at the bottom of the house are enablers. We are looking to digital transformation of the Federation. The Iwajiri platform is part of that. We have 3 other projects. We're looking at our document management system. And we believe that serving you, we need to go digital to be able to do that. Effective member engagement and participation, operational efficiency, how we deliver, and finally, at the end, the best laid plans. Although we are talking about technology and digitalization and all that, people will always be, and the culture of the Federation. So 4 very key enablers towards delivery of this strategic plan. We are sharing it with you so that you hold us accountable and you know what it is that we envision, so that by the year 2028, FKA will be a very different organization. We plan to be very rigorous. We do report to the board on this strategic plan biannually. We review in June and December. We'll do a mid-time review, maybe in the year 2026. And finally, at the end of it, we'll do an overall review to inform the next strategic plan. Please support us in the delivery of this plan, and we promise to deliver and also to take into account what our chief guest told us this morning. I want to thank the board for their guidance in the process of developing this strategic plan, and the fact that they looked at it in February, gave their inputs, but basically gave us the go-ahead to deliver on it. And so that is a plan that we are launching, members. The FKA Strategic Plan 2024-2028. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this is what we've been waiting for, and I want to ask our executive director to come just on this side, and the national president, Dr. Olaka, please come you two on this side. I know we are pressed with time, and we'll also try to do it in the shortest time possible. We are going to unveil the strategic plan by cutting the
What is this? Let's see. What will it be? So, you
Okay. There is going to be a countdown from 5. When it reaches 0, you cut the ribbon, and then, okay, let's go. Yes, yes. You hold there. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's cut it. Okay. Okay. That's our strategic plan, the one that we have been just given the highlights, the direction FKE is taking in the next 5 years. Can we just stand up and clap? Because this is what we target to do. And great. Yes. We're done. Then I'll request 2 strategic plans to be brought and be given to the national president. 2 strategic plan to the national president. And I'll request the incoming national president to also join here. So the outgoing national president is going to hand over 1 strategic plan to the incoming national president, and then another one to the incoming national president. Okay. Great. The board members can join. The board members, please join and have give each with a strategic plan. The board members, please join. Okay. Great. Okay. Okay. Let's wait. That will be done.
Tunasherehekea uhusiano wetu, shirikisho yetu, sauti ya waajiri wetu. Tunasherehekea uhusiano wetu, shirikisho letu, sauti ya waajiri wetu. Tunasherehekea uhusiano wetu, shirikisho letu, sauti ya waajiri wetu. tunasherekea siliano wetu, ushirikisho yetu, sauti ya waajiri wetu.
So those are the board members.
Wanachama asante, washirika asante, tunasema asante, washirika asante, wanachama asante, washirika asante.
Thank you. Thank you. We can take the seat. I will request. I just request the board members to move at this side where we have a cake. We are FKE at 65. FKE at 65. Let's just the board members come this side. Just form a semicircle so that then the members can.
Wanachama asante, washirika asante, tunasema asante, washirika asante, wanachama asante, washirika asante.
Okay. Now, wait. Yes, I will ask the executive director with the two national presidents to take the hand, the knife. Yes. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. FKE at 65. Can we clap for them? Thank you. Thank you. FKE at 65. Thank you. It is going to be cut and will be served when we are taking lunch so that then we have all a taste of it. Thank you. We can now get seated. I want now to call upon our first Vice National President to just come and give a vote of thanks. Please, sir, the podium.
Thank you very much, Steve, for those guys who are here from the press. My last comment was with a light touch. It was not FKE policy, so please don't report that. We want to just thank a few people here very quickly so that we can wrap up the AGM. And we will start our vote of thanks. And we'll first start by thanking God, because that's where we started in the morning with a prayer for giving us this day and generally for making it possible for all of us. We want to thank you, the FKE members, for your continuous support. Today we had a very, very huge turnout of the AGM, and we really appreciate you. Our outgoing national president, thanks a lot for your wisdom and guidance over the last 4 years. It's been a journey. You're now joining the distinguished group of ex-presidents, and you will be with us on the board for the next 2 years. So we'll still call on your wise counsel over the next few years as you take in the mantle of ex-president. But we do thank you. You can walk with your head held very high because as you can see today, we've had, I think, 3 launches in one, plus all the other achievements that you've been able to undertake over the last 4 years, and we really, really appreciate you. Thank you very much. The incoming team, led by Dr. Gilda Odera, we actually celebrating 3 things. We are celebrating the first lady national president, as was said earlier by Dr. Odera. This is a milestone because we have a big wall of fame in the FKE boardroom that is full of gentlemen, and most of them a few years older than I am. So it will be nice to have a picture of a young lady donning the boardroom. So it's a historic moment for us as FKE, and we do really appreciate you and the few years that you've been resilient. We do hope that you'll now steer us into the next 65, as was said earlier by our chief guest. And also, I'd like to recognize the incoming board members. I think we have Hilary Ciele. I always confuse him with his brother. They look like a spitting image. It's Wesley. You see, I'm even calling him Hilary now because I work with Hilary in another place. And every time I see, he's my chairman. And every time I see Wesley, I call him Mr. Chairman. So we'd like to welcome you on board. Who else was appointed today? Yeah, I think we have Aki, who's not here, the AKI insurance. And then, of course, the trustees, incoming trustees, our ex-president, Mark. Thank you very much for taking up that mantle. Actually, all the 3 trustees are ex-board members, including Charles and Mark. So, and the outgoing trustees, Hirji, when Dr. Kip was talking about 65 years, I was scratching my head and asking myself, how old is Hirji? And I think he's almost touching 90, if I'm not wrong, or headed there, and has been with us for 50 years. We really do thank you for your service, together with the other 2 guys, I think Kip Korir, who's also leaving the trusteeship. We want to thank our architects, AIA, Mohammed and team. I think I saw Yasin and Mercy there. That is a dream of the future, and you are simply translating the dream into that building. And we really do appreciate the thought process. I thought, Mohammed, you'd have had enough time to say what it represents and the architectural thought behind that, as Yasin had told us. Interesting stories, maybe for another day. Maybe during the launch, we can speak about it. We would also like to thank, I can see she's left, the representative from IOE, Mohira Kurbanua. I met her this morning and she was able to pronounce my name. So that is very special. It means that she's been here for the few months that she's been in Nairobi. She's been able to catch on. We would also like to thank our labor commissioner in absentia, Mrs. Helena Pio, who we work very closely with, and was meant to be here with us today, but unfortunately could not make it. But we really do appreciate all the inputs that come from the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. We do a lot together that we cannot even say here. And we would like to thank the Labor Commissioner and, of course, by extension, the other officials of the ministry, the PS Labor, Mr. Mwadime, and the CS, Labor and Social Protection, Mrs. Bore. We also would like to thank our returning officer, Mr. Apollo Kiarie. He was a returning officer last time. I don't know whether it's a returning officer or it's now an IEBC. He talked about an IEBC moment. So maybe we should campaign for him to be the next Chebukati. He seems to be doing a better job than some of the commissioners we've had there before. I would also like to thank the team. I know that the ED thanked you, the FKE team, led by Jackie Mugo, a very able ED. We know that behind the scenes, you guys do a lot. We know that you burn the midnight oil, and we are happy that you're able to deliver some of the things that we ask for, even at very short notice. So we really, really appreciate, and we know you're a small, lean staff, but you're able to do all these things. Dickens, thank you very much for being a facilitator today. I saw Mwambo ushering people, Grace, Steve, Violet, the guys out there. I can't mention everyone, but you guys really do a good job. Please take our appreciation. I know Mr. Karanja was also a former board member. He's now joined the League of Trustees. Welcome back. It's good to have you back. And I'm sure that you'll be able to serve the same way you served when you were a board member. Would like to thank, yes, I was going there, to the regional branch presidents. I know they're here. I saw Dr. Sam Ikwae over there. I saw Daktari again. This is a team of doctors. It puts pressure on me because every time people are talking about FKE, they are talking about Dr. Olaka, Dr. Odera, Dr. Monyoncho, Dr. Tumbo, Dr. Uwur, all these doctors. And for us sitting on the board without that title, we are feeling a bit of pressure, particularly now that there's a succession plan of this doctor to doctor thing. It becomes very so. The regional presidents, we appreciate you, and we appreciate the work that you do, Ken, in the regions, and we do appreciate your engagements with our members there, and we look forward to more. There's a venue here, JW Marriott. I'm not sure whether there's a representative in the room, but we would like to thank this hotel. It's a brand new hotel. I think we opened it a few months ago. I was here just a few weeks ago to meet the team. We know that Nairobi is busy. We're trying to find a good venue that would match this image that we are putting out there as FKE. We needed to be in a nice, when I was growing up, most of my friends were from Nyanza, and they were telling me I need to become a Luo. And for me to become a Luo, there are several things that must happen. First of all, I must be smart here. Soma kwanza. I must learn to be speaking big words. I must learn how to dress, and I must learn how to take the finer things in life. Single malt whiskeys, things like that, 5-star hotels. So that's why we are here in a 5-star facility. I think it's almost 7-star, launching this thing and launching it in style at a brand new, the tallest building in Nairobi. So that is now my Luo self speaking. The big words we talked about with the ex-president, I don't want to repeat them. We were together on Monday morning speaking big words. So thank you very much, JW team, for making it possible, even the turnaround late in the night. Media, our partners, I understand people call you the fourth estate. I don't know why. I think there's a story behind it that originated from the House of Commons or the House of Congress somewhere. I'm not sure where, but we do thank you because you're a real fourth estate. You're the one who looks after most of the stuff that we are talking about today. If you did not highlight, if you are not our partners, if you did not report responsibly and factually, then maybe our advocacy agenda would not have been where it is today. So we really thank you, and we thank you for coming in the morning and staying with us all through. Finally, any other person I've forgotten? I know there are many people that I should have mentioned their names, and they are looking at me here. I can see some faces looking at me. So if I have not mentioned your name and you're looking at me, I thank you for being with us this afternoon. With those many remarks, I'd like to stop there so that we can proceed for lunch. I think I'll call my good friend Maumbo here to finalize with a word of prayer. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.
Okay, thank you so much for this day. I will be able to, my name is Geoffrey Maumo. I'm in charge of PR and communications. I'm just going to give direction on how we are going to get our lunch. From here, we are going to use the lifts. Our lunch, we're going to have it at Mina Restaurant, which is on 4th floor. You will be able to get the meal vouchers just as you go out at the registration where you're doing your registration. Get your meal voucher as you go up there. Then ensure you have a copy of our strategic plan. If you haven't gotten a copy, as you move out, you'll be able to get the copy. So shall we stand up and pray? Thank you. Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, we come unto you, God, this afternoon, God, my Father, after having guided us through this day, God, my Father. Behold, God, we've come at the end of this AGM and the launch of the strategic plan, God, my Father. I pray, God, my Father, that as even we disperse, God, my Father, may you be with us, God, my Father. I pray for the food that is beyond us, God, my Father. As we go to eat, God, my Father, may you bless that food, God, my Father. We exalt your name. We love you, God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Welcome for lunch. Oh, sorry, yes.